Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first World of Tanks video with Slim Phoenix. I just want to kind of get a channel up and running and kind of get myself introduced and get some videos out there that can help players with World of Tanks itself and the various interfaces and things, tips and tricks kind of that'll help you out. And I'll probably cover some other things, tactics and some strategy as well eventually. A little history about myself. I started playing World of Tanks back in 2012. I had a coworker recommend it to me and I thought I'd give it a try. So I took a look at it and I kind of got into it, kind of liked it, and the further I got up the tiers into the various tanks, the more I got engaged and started really enjoying it. I think it was about the first 12,000, I'll say the first 12,000 battles though, that I wouldn't consider it played well in my opinion where I am now. But you know, you live and you learn, and I was just having fun. I was driving into driving into groups of tanks and things like that. But I figured I'd get started with some low level stuff. As you can tell by the screen here, I run some mods, and I think from what I've heard, Aslain is kind of gaining popularity. I like it because it's usually stable. You don't have to do a bunch of messing around, copying files around, things like that. It's kind of a set it and forget it kind of thing, and it checks its own updates. So if you look up Aslain's XVM is what it's actually called. I use the mod pack installer, and the nice thing about this is, as I said, you download it, and once it's done downloading, you run it. You'll go through the prompts, and it'll actually check to see if there's a newer version as it's booting up. So even if you didn't get the newest version, you can download your first one, and you can use that one to download the next version, which is nice because you only have to go to the site once. You can just fire up the next one, and it'll say, hey, there's an update. Do you want to use it? And usually those updates are pretty stable. I haven't had issues with hardly any of them that I can remember. But I thought I would give you a run through of some of the mods that I use from Aslain and kind of tell you why I like them. One thing that we should cover before that, though, is recently Wargaming started to crack down on illegal mods. And anybody who's a gamer knows that as soon as a game comes out, there's people trying to find an edge, people putting mods on, doing modifications that will give them, you know, sometimes it's just an enhancement that'll make the gameplay better, look better, and other times it'll just be a downright cheat. And I will show you a site. If you Google World of Tanks forbidden mods or illegal mods, it'll pull this site up for you, which is the fair play policy. And what it basically says is that they are going to start penalizing for those who are using illegal mods. And as far as I can tell, they actually have included some code in your installation that will basically tell them what mods are in your folder for your game, World of Tanks game. And they basically break it down into the 3 different groups. So they break it down into mods that provide a gameplay advantage, or that, excuse me, that don't provide a gameplay advantage, but are basically just a customization, like I was saying, something that makes tanks look better, or makes it so that you can utilize it better. Then they have mods that provide a gameplay advantage, but it's in a positive way. And then there's mods, obviously, that provide a gameplay advantage in a negative way. So a positive way would be, for instance, the last spotted system used to show on your mini map. This was an XVM mod that you could install, and it would show you where that tank was last spotted on the mini map. So that is an example that provides a gameplay advantage, but it's in a positive way because they're not spotted anymore. So they could technically be somewhere else. It just lets you know where they were last. An example of a gameplay advantage that's negative is if it was on the screen. So as you're looking around the battlefield, a tank gets spotted, and then it goes invisible again, but you still have what they would call a ghost there, and I think they might actually mention that somewhere down here, but it shows a ghost there on the actual view from your tank and not on the mini map. So you would know where to shoot if they were still there, whereas if it's just on the mini map, you won't see it on your actual screen, and you can fire in that general direction, but it's a lot harder that way. So it's that's kind of the line that they've drawn between a positive way and a negative way. So it's just something to look into. Obviously, they're doing a 7-day suspension for the first violation, and they're doing permanent bans for repeat offenders. So I think that mods are a great addition to World of Tanks, and I think they definitely have their place. And the nice thing is that they're starting to add these into World of Tanks. So they're basically finding the mods that a lot of people use and integrating them into World of Tanks so that people don't have to run mods. But obviously there's still some mods that, well, at least I know of myself, I use that aren't in World of Tanks yet. So let's jump back there. And this is the interface you will get after you get past where the checks for the updates and you pick your directory, all stuff like that. So some things, these are basically the some of the settings that I like to use, and I'm just going to cover some of these because if you just play pub matches and you don't do strongholds or clan wars, if you're in a clan, some of this might not be as important to you. But for example, I like to have the HP bar, vehicle name, player name, so I know which player it is, which is especially important if you're in a campaign or you're doing clan wars or strongholds, because if your commander tells you, hey, go over by this guy or go help this guy out, you can look and actually see the player name so you know where you're going. Some of the other stuff is just things I like to have. Tank win ratio, excuse me, a star that shows the WN8 of that player, which kind of helps if you're going up against somebody in a pub match, because then you can actually see, okay, this guy's got some experience, he's relatively good, versus somebody who's purple, for instance. This guy's going to know how to work this corner, and I should prepare for that. So it's just kind of something you can judge from a simple colored star. See a couple other things that I have in here that I like to use. Obviously the panels, I like having the details in there, and I'll kind of go through and show you some of that. I use most of the circles. So you've got your spotting distance circle, the range at which you can be spotted, and these are all basic figures. They're not exact. Obviously, if somebody has binoculars, or if you have things like that, or that may improve that. So it's just a good general idea. And then there's obviously the maximum draw distance. So if they're outside of that ring, they won't even show up on your screen. You may be able to see them on the mini map, but you won't be able to actually see them. You can kind of blind fire in that direction, but so it's kind of good to know. So you'll actually know how far you have to move closer if you want to actually see them to shoot at them. Let's see some of the icon scales. Oh, and another benefit that I like that Aslain has included in this interface is the Show Descriptions button. So what this does, this pulls this window up and, no image available. Well, what are we talking about? So if I click on Type 7 here, it doesn't show anything. But if I want to see what my artillery site is on the minimap, I can click that, and I had Type 7, so this is this one. So that'll show you what the artillery site is going to be on your minimap. which I think is really beneficial because otherwise you'd just be going through here going, I don't know which one of these I want. And you'd pick one, you'd get into the game, oh, I don't like that one, and then you'd have to start the installer back up and come back in here and change it. So it's just nice to know which one you're getting with each one. And some of them don't show you, like this 10 colors that I use for the WN8 rating scale. Some of the Sixth Sense that I use Sauron because it's, I don't know, maybe it's nerdy of me, but I like the Sauron eye better than just the all-seeing eye. But what I do use in combination with that though, and they recently added the ability to add your own sound to the Sixth Sense, so you can put whatever sound clip you want in there. But this saves you from having to download the sound, making sure it's the right format, making sure it's the right length, and doing all your editing. The Aslain gives you an example of a list of various sounds that you can use, and it'll automatically put it in there for you. And the one that I used is the Metal Gear sound. If you ever played Metal Gear if you ever played Metal Gear, you know what this sound is. And the reason I use it is because it's relatively loud, it's blatant, and I have a hard time missing it. Meaning I could be surrounded by tanks getting shot at left and right. I could have a teammate talking to me on TeamSpeak, and I'll still hear this sound. So I use that so it's so I hear it. I mean, there's still occasions where I won't hear it, but it's usually when I'm in the thick of things, or maybe it may not matter. I'm just out in La La Land, got my blinders on, charging into enemy territory. So let's see, one of the other ones that I have. So show advanced info on the carousel. You can kind of see down here all these squares with the tanks have numbers galore in them. And if you're new to mods, or you're not familiar with the various stats of certain tanks, this will look really unfamiliar to you. But so it'll show what battle tiers this tank gets in battle, where you're at on your mastery mark, marks of excellence, win rate, played battles, average damage. I just threw the works in there because it doesn't really crowd it to the point where I can't see what it is, which tank it is, but it gives me enough information to know whether I play that tank well or whether I play it poorly, or if you're going for excuse me, if you're going for marks of excellence, you can kind of tell where you're at. So that's kind of nice. Oh, so I also use the multi-line tank carousel. As you can see down there over here on the left, I've got 64 tanks being displayed right now. And instead of having to scroll clear left, clear right, because they're up to 2 tiers of tank carousel in your garage. So you can get 2 tiers, but I didn't like that. It wasn't enough for me, so I added the 3rd row. So that makes this necessary. So, and I'll kind of show you some of that with the garage when I get back there. I also have the clan icons. Most of this is just formatting stuff. The armor penetration indicator. This is nice because you can aim, and if it's green down here, you don't even have to really look at the numbers, but it'll show you whether or not you're going to penetrate what you're aimed at, which is kind of handy to have. You can get different crosshairs. Battle Assistant is one thing that I use. So if you've played artillery, you hit shift, go into artillery mode, and you get an overhead top-down view of your target. And usually your reticle is an oval shape because it's coming from the other end. But what Battle Assistant does for you is it gives you a view from the top of your gun arc. So you can actually see where the shell is going to go when it comes down. The reason I like this is because with the overhead view, you can't always see what obstacles are between you and your target. And this doesn't necessarily give you all the obstacles, but it does give you the ability to see what obstacles are between the top of your firing arc and the bottom. So, and as you can tell in this example here, it's mostly circular. It's hitting the top of this building, so you know there's a potential. If this guy pulled the trigger right now, obviously he'd hit somewhere up here in the dirt. But the so you can kind of get a general idea. It's a much nicer view, I think. And I do switch between the two. One thing about this is if you're doing counter battery, you cannot see the, at least as far as I know, you can't see the firing streams or the heck, I can't think of the word. The round trails, the trails from the bullet that the tank is firing in this view. So you have to switch back to your overhead view in order to see that. And I trigger mine by the mouse wheel button. The reason I do that is the G key in World of Tanks will enable or disable your in-game chat. Excuse me, your voice chat. So took it away, put it on the mouse wheel button. I can do that just as easy now. I don't have to worry about cycling the chat on and off. Let's see. I think there's one other thing that I have in here. Here it is. Crew Skill Informer. So what this does is if you've ever gotten into a battle and you're driving across the map and you've got a bunch of tanks and you go, wait, I don't remember if I have 6th Sense on this tank. Oh. So what this does is answers the question for you. This allows you to hit the backspace key and it'll pop up what your crews have for skills. So if you know the icons, you'll know what skills they have. So it's just nice to have. When you're driving numerous different tanks during the day, you can kind of hit the button and you'll know where you're sitting. So damage panels, I like to have win 8 and the difference up in the top here. It's kind of nice because I don't really chase stats. I don't change the way I play the game depending on how I'm doing. I mean, obviously, if you turn a corner and you get slammed by 3 or 4 different tanks, you're gonna back up a little bit and you figure something different to do. But this just kind of helps me know whether I've had a good whether I'm having a good or bad battle so far and things like that. See, there's some garage appearance. There's really a lot of stuff in here. I have the female crew mod. Just basically, it's just a different change of scenery for me. I don't know, maybe it's a guy thing. But see what else. Yazan Krasen session stats is a what it does is it gives you the stats for the day. If you have this checked, it'll reset it at 6 a.m. every day, and it'll give you your win 8 for the day, your efficiency, as well as the number of battles you played that day and how many you've won. In addition to that, it'll give you those stats for each battle that you actually do. So it'll show the battle, and then it'll show how you did. It'll say, you know, your win 8 was this much. So whether you're chasing stats or whether you just want to see how you did in that battle, that'll give you a good idea, because there's always those battles where you do really well and you know it. And then there's those battles where you think you did horrible and you lose, and you go in and you look and you actually performed really well. So it's a good thing. I like to have it, and not only that, but then you don't have to go to some third-party site and look up your stats and do it the long way. So those are most of the mods that I use on here. And one other recommendation I do have is this next screen. I always do the clean install because it pulls all the old mods out, gets rid of them, puts new ones in, so it's fresh. You don't have to worry about your game acting up or doing anything funny. So, and you will have to have World of Tanks closed out before you actually do the install. You'll get a warning if you have World of Tanks up and you start the Aslain's installer. So, just something to consider. I thought be kind of cool for you guys to check it out. Some of the actual in-game settings that I use. figured I'd show you some of those. So as I mentioned earlier, there is so you have 1 level, 2 level vehicle panels. So if you don't use that from Aslain, you can do that in here. And like I said, they've been adding a lot of the mods that used to be separate into the actual game. So let's see. For example, where's it at? Is it marker? So yeah, you can change your vehicle markers, things like that, all in here. Reticle, you can also select that, so on and so forth. But they don't always have the one you want, so that's another reason why I use Aslain's. Um, let's see here. So we've got show view range circle, show the maximum spotting range, and the draw circle. So those are the three that I mentioned. So they actually have them in game, but I just like to use the Aslains to do it, so I know that it's done selected. I don't even have to come in here and play with any of these settings. Also displays marks of excellence, so on and so forth. Where's that at? There is an option in here. I think it's down here. Yes. So with the recent releases, they've got what is essentially a summary. So this option here, show simplified technical characteristics in the garage. So let's check that. I believe it's usually checked after you install. And I'll hit apply here. So what it does is it breaks everything down into groups. This is like some of the racing games they have out there. You can go in and you can see what the handling is and what the acceleration is, things like that. So this is basically the same thing. You can click the arrow and get the specifics on it, and then you can collapse it. Personally, I like to have it show me the details so I don't have to go over and click on anything. I guess I'm not a real big fan of mousing over, so I can just look and say, okay, how many hit points does this thing have? 2,500. Okay, what's its top speed? Oh, it's 43. So it's right there. You don't even have to mess with it. You can see my female crews here, and here's all those numbers that I was referencing earlier. So here's your vehicle tier. Here's the battle tiers that it sees. So this is the M18 Hellcat. It's a tier 6 tank destroyer. I'm assuming you're familiar with the different shapes for the different types of vehicles. You've got win rate in the tank. So my win rate with the M18 Hellcat is 57%. Let's do one that doesn't have the crew incomplete across it. Let's see. Then you've got, I believe, hold on. So this is your usual damage, and this is the amount of damage you need to get a green win 8 out of it. So it's kind of and then it shows where you're at as far as your marks of excellence as well. And I just remembered and quickly forgot the other thing that I was going to mention. Ah, yes. So another benefit of the Aslain's mods is with Aslain you get this wonderful checkbox right here, automatically return crew. And what that's handy for is if you have a tank that is a premium tank, for instance this T-26E5, this crew, as you can see here, is technically designated for the T-32. So because this is a premium vehicle, I'm able to pull them in. They're also heavy tank crew members, so they can come right in. They don't get any penalties. So that's why this one says crew incomplete. So if I go to my T-32, which is right here, it says crew incomplete. So if I want to jump from that tank to this tank, it automatically pulls them all back in because the automatically return crew checkbox is checked. The other benefit is if you right click, you can drop all crew. And I'm pretty sure they haven't added that in yet, but it's nice to be able to just drop them all, and then you can go to a premium tank. Say you just bought one, you go through, you add your crew, you play one battle in it, and then you can click automatically return crew, and it'll automatically return the crew that was used for the last battle. So, in the future, I'll probably cover some more advanced things. Maybe I'll do some general know-how, some general subject matter as far as like whether equipment is beneficial to different types of ammo, how they react, when you should fire what, um, and that kind of thing. So if you have any if you have any suggestions, feel free to throw them down in the comments. Otherwise, just hit that like button, and I will see you in the next episode. Happy tanking.